I'm not going to lie to you. I am incredibly busy. I'm sorry that this is getting out late. I may or may not have the largest announcement of Flock Fantasy history coming in a few days. Something that we've been working on for God knows how long. On top of this, I may or may not have put in an offer for a house today, and no idea I was going to do that until literally yesterday. So a lot going on, incredibly busy. Good news is, hell, we get to change this number here. We hit 26,000 subscribers. We'll take off to 25. Let's throw 26 on that bad boy. And let's start a Dynasty Fantasy Football Draft, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a good day. We got a lot going on. So we're getting the first overall pick. We are going to be taking Patrick Mahomes here, and then we are going to be laughing at everybody else for allowing us to have him. Oh, it's a good day. It's a good day. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts go off the board directly, 102, 103. Really not too much to be talking about here with the first 5-6 picks. We kind of know how they're going to go. I think 99% of people at this point realize, yeah, well, you want to take a quarterback here. The quarterback's not going to be great on the way back round at the 2-3 turn. So, yeah, you're going to see these guys go off the board. Jefferson before Lawrence. You'll see this happen a decent amount of times. I mean, it's not necessarily like you have Jefferson guaranteed to go behind Trevor Lawrence, but what I'm very surprised about is Justin Fields going ahead of Lawrence here. From a redraft perspective, given rushing upside, I would say Justin Fields has a higher 2023 ceiling than Trevor Lawrence. But from a Dynasty Fantasy Football perspective, oh dear God, I can't imagine going through and taking Justin Fields there. I'm sorry that y'all couldn't see that. That is my bad. Thank you for everybody letting me know in the chat. We are busy setting up the live stream here. Like I said, it's been a very long day. Just trying to do my best. Now, Chase falls all the way to 10. Oh dear God. I personally would rather have Chase over Fields. I would rather have Chase over Lamar. I understand why you would go Lamar Jackson over Jamar Chase. Given roster construction, given the wide receiver value you can find later on, I understand why you would do it. Personally, I would not, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Terry says, hey, Mason, I just wanted to double thank you for the advice last year. I swapped Pittman in a second for Judy in a first. It ended up being the 101. Keep the advice coming up. Thank you so much. And congrats, my friend. I mean, obviously, that is laughable, the fact that you were able to get that price tag. And clearly, it's looking like you're crushed. Oh, my gosh. I don't need to talk about that anymore. Y'all know we are all about Michael Pittman and Courtland Sutton being the most overrated players in fantasy football. The fact that there was no way in hell Courtland Sutton was the wide receiver one over Jerry Jeudy. The fact that there was no reason whatsoever to be drafting Michael Pittman. Love it. Love it. Now, Shadrick says, thinking too long term, CN1 had like 6 QB1 seasons. Are you saying Cam Newton? I will pull up the difference, in my opinion, between Cam Newton and Justin Fields. You may not agree with it, but we'll talk about it in just 1 second. I know nobody likes us talking Justin Fields, and I completely understand why. I'm obnoxious. I'm very annoying. But if we got we got a $5 donation question here, I feel like we should address it. I'm very sorry. Jeremiah says, clean cut. Thank you, my friend. I will say I've not got a haircut in quite some time, but we took a shower right before this. So the first shower we've had maybe, let's say, 2023. So it maybe looks like we have a clean cut. But oh my gosh, we have a run on wide receivers. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Higgins going. You have a couple of running backs falling, such as Jonathan Taylor and Kenneth Walker. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey at the top of ADP here. I don't necessarily think that Christian McCaffrey is someone that you need to be taking here, but let's see where these guys are going to be taking this. Nick says, I parted with Mixon for a first after the report coming out that he's a cut candidate. I mean, yeah, you don't necessarily need to be looking at those reports. I think if you're just looking at the contracts yourself, you can kind of figure that out before someone just reports on it. Regardless, phenomenal trade. I mean, obviously, we would rather have a 2024 first or 2023 first than Joe Mixon at this point. The man drafted in 2017. The man coming to the end of his second contract here. I think it's probably a no-brainer move. But I'm kind of hoping that WFT fan here auto drafts, gets CMC. Okay, no. So that wasn't an auto pick. If it was an auto pick, he would have gone Christian McCaffrey. I guess he had a queue set up. But we are not going to go Christian McCaffrey either. we are going to go ahead and we are going to skim way the hell down here. We're going to go way past ADP to, in my mind, have the best 2-3 turn we can possibly have. We're going to go Patrick Mahomes, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson out the gate in this draft. I mean, good luck, everyone. Try to catch up with this. I think this is the first mock draft that we've done at the 101 or at the 102. Usually we try to make it work with the pick later on, but oh dear God, it's nice when you just get the best players available. Now, Jag says, super flex PPR 12-team dynasty, traded the 105 in the rookie tight end in Tennessee for Chris Olave. Oh my gosh. I was actually planning on making a video today talking about how Chris Olave, Drake London, these rookie wide receivers are even better than people are giving them credit for. Like I said, wasn't expecting to put in an offer on a home. I was expecting that we were about to have our largest announcement of Flock Fantasy history in a couple days, 2 days to be exact, but too much was on my plate. We may not have a video tomorrow, but I'm about to make a video talking about how damn good Chris Olave is. We have the 101, 102, 103, and 104. Oh, dear God. We also have Walker, Wilson, Jameson Williams, 0 future picks, 0 quarterbacks. Who would you take and was it a good trade? You essentially just traded the 105 for Chris Olave, and yes, it's a phenomenal trade. 101, we're taking Bijan Robinson. 102, 103, 104, I'm going to operate under the assumption we're most likely getting Bryce Young with one of these picks. And then beyond that, we are going to stay flexible. We are going to get the information from the NFL Combine very, very soon. And we're going to keep on rolling. Okay, so let's stay flexible here. I think we're probably going to be looking at Bryce Young, Bijan, Stroud, JSN if we have no quarterbacks, but I don't want to tell you to lock into that right now. Please stay flexible. Okay. Now, Nick says, me and my friends are starting a Dynasty League with IDP, and I'm excited. I'm very excited for you, my friend. There's nothing I like more on this planet than Dynasty football. Okay, so we have ETN 308. Gibbs goes 305. Oh, my gosh. Slick Rick, what are we doing here? I mean, I don't want to say I hate it. If Jahmyr Gibbs comes out, I mean, surprises people as a BMI of 30, and then all of a sudden he is a first-round NFL draft pick, looks like he can be like who we wanted DeAndre Swift to be, it's probably a pretty good pick. I mean, I just don't really ever see anybody taking him this high in startup drafts. I would definitely rather have ETN. I'd rather have Barkley. I mean, I love the ETN value here at 308. Anthony Richardson going early as well. If we're going to be looking at the quarterbacks that are still available, I mean, you still have Tua on the board, which I think at this time, if you believe Anthony Richardson's a top 5-ish NFL draft pick, and you think that he has way more rushing upside than someone like Tua, I kind of understand why you would do it, but I'm not going 311. I think we actually just took Anthony Richardson in another draft closer to about the 511. Like we got him at the end of the 5th. Regardless, interesting spot. Okay, Lance goes at the beginning of the 4th. If we would have had Lance fall to us at the 4-5 turn, we most likely would have been going Trey Lance. Obviously, you're not going to get every player you want. I'm just so excited about our 3-round start. Sam says, CeeDee Lamb, thumbnail magic. Hey, I should have taken a into first-round pick here if we wanted to keep it consistent with the thumbnails. I feel like with a lot of the drafts that we have done, we have kept it consistent with the thumbnails. We have had that thumbnail magic going on, but it is what it is. Now, Tua goes 405. I really like the Tua value. I mean, obviously, you have people who love Tua. You have people that hate Tua. There was the thing that Caleb Williams was coming out saying that he would love to be a Miami Dolphin, which is pretty funny, of course. But, I mean, I think 4th round's pretty good value, especially if we're going to be comparing it to Dak at the end of the 2nd. I love the Devonta Smith value at the 407. I would say that arguably that is going to be the best pick in this entire draft here. And what I should probably do, ladies and gentlemen, is I should probably go ahead and pull up my own rankings. I've been working on grinding away at these overall rankings that we can be using in startup drafts. Of course, you need to adjust to your league formats. But if we have been grinding away at these overall rankings, we should be able to use them in this. Should be able to pull this up. We have Kupp ranked 46. Adams 48. Najee 50. Swift 53. Where do we have Javonte? Javonte 54. Do we go with the veteran wide receivers here? What quarterbacks are available? We got Levis. We're going to keep the flexibility. We'll go one veteran wide receiver, and we'll go QB with Will Levis as well. Will Levis should have the NFL draft capital that we're going to be looking for. Not only is he going to have the capital, he will have rushing upside. He could potentially land in an okay situation. We don't know exactly how it's going to be. And if we're looking at the quarterbacks that will be available to us at the 6-7 turn, I don't even know if we're going to have someone like Russell Wilson available. Daniel Jones will probably be gone. So I feel like there's probably a QB teardrop coming. We wanted to have two of these guys. So let's go ahead and let's take Will Levis. Piono says, Kupp Adams would have been nasty. I mean, I completely understand. It probably looks like a natural pairing if you want to just go through and commit to being a contending roster for 2023. Obviously, if we're going to be looking at your long-term upside, if you were to go through with that selection at the 4 or 5 turn, you'd probably be capped. Whereas I could see Kupp makes us competitive here right away. And at the same time, we still have long-term upside with Will Levis if he comes in and actually demonstrates the ability to run the ball for 35 rushing yards a game in year 1. Especially if he finds himself with a competent organization like the Indianapolis Colts. At that point, I could see him probably moving up to being a second-round startup pick. Whereas if we're going to be looking at like Davante Adams and Cooper Kupp, literally doesn't matter if those are the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers in fantasy football this next season. From a dynasty value perspective, next offseason, they would 100% be lesser in value when Kupp's going to be 30 this offseason. I believe Adams is already 30. So you just know those are assets that are going to be depreciating in value no matter what. Sam says Kyle Trask over Sam Howell. Oh, dear God. I know we have some Sam Howell hype going on right now. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me telling me that they're excited about Sam Howell with the new coaching staff coming in, with the weapons that he has, blah, blah, blah. I will say do not be excited about Sam Howell. Do not be excited about Kyle Trask. Neither player matters. Neither player is going to make a serious difference in fantasy football. I think you just kind of sit it out, to be honest. Isaiah says, would you rather have Olave or T. Higgins? I can actually pull up my dynasty rankings right now and tell you exactly where we have these guys. Currently, I'm sitting with Olave at 25. So we have Olave ranked a little bit before where he goes in this draft. And I have Higgins at 21, which honestly is literally right where T. Higgins goes. Yeah, 24, 23, 22, 21, which is pretty funny. Russell Wilson goes here at the end of the 5th. And the secret about fantasy football is very rarely are you going to find a player that's just egregiously priced and that you can be confident that they are. If that makes sense. Like, of course, there are a lot of players that are bad prices that we don't know of. But very rarely are you going to have actual insight on who those guys are. Okay. Dwayne says, traded the 106 and Pittman for Walker. Thoughts for a running back needy team? I'm fine with it, to be honest. I would like it a lot more in one quarterback than Superflex. But I actually forgot to go back through and talk about Fields versus Cam Newton. But Alan coming out in the chat says, Fields at 7, ? Yeah, I thought Fields at 7 was pretty damn bad. And we had someone coming out saying, well, we're thinking long-term here. If you look at Cam Newton had, I believe, 7 seasons as a quarterback 1, whatever it may be. And I want to look at the difference between these two players. Okay. And I know this isn't going to be the most popular thing in the world, but hear me out on this. Let's pull up Justin Fields' year 2 versus Cam Newton's year 2. And I understand you're going to make the argument, Well, Mason, Justin Fields was set up to fail, blah, blah, blah. Literally what I've been saying since he got drafted. One of the reasons I did not like Justin Fields in fantasies because he went to an organization that was incompetent top to bottom with no weapons, destined to fail. If we're going to be looking at this, it's not everything, but to keep in context where we stand, Cam Newton, through 2 years of his NFL career, averaged about 245 passing yards per game, whereas if we're going to be looking at Justin Fields, he's at 152, okay? 152 versus about 250. If we're going to be going through and looking at success at the NFL level, indicating maybe long-term job security, Cam Newton, 13 wins. Fields, 5. If we're going to look at an adjusted yards per attempt standpoint, Cam Newton, significantly. I don't think we need to continue to go through, but I don't like the comp. I mean, I'll admit, Fields has a ton of rushing upside. But to say he's Cam Newton, I don't really understand that. Cam Newton was also unanimous first overall pick coming out. Like, I think there's a big difference, at least in my mind. Okay, Bob, let's pull this up, figure out where we're going to be going. George Pickens, DJ Moore, Pittman, Jameson. Jameson Williams actually falls a little bit here compared to where he usually goes. Oh my gosh, Jordan Addison fell to the 6th round. I really like the Addison value. Okay, but we probably should have been paying attention to who's on the board. We have Dameon Pierce ranked at 68. We have McLaurin ranked at 74. We have Goddard ranked at 64. So it looks like Goddard's going to be our highest ranked player that's currently available. Let's just go through. And I think actually Zach Charbonnet may be very close for us in our rankings. Zach Charbonnet at 69. We have Zach Charbonnet and Dameon Pierce ranked back to back with Jahan Dotson shortly after. So can y'all spam the chat? I'm going to go with who you want. Do you want Zach Charbonnet or Dameon Pierce? Or Chris Godwin? No, we're not going to go wide receiver. Do you want Zach Charbonnet or Dameon Pierce here at the beginning of the 7th rounds? I'd love to know. Okay. Pierce, Charbonnet, Pierce. Okay, so, oh, dear God, can I change? Do you care if I change this? Does everybody care? Okay, we're going to change it to Dameon Pierce. Okay. Very sorry for doing that. We were looking at the chat, trying to figure out what people are saying. A little bit of a lag there. Okay. Casey says, hey, Mason, I just received an offer for Jefferson. I give Jefferson in return. We get the 101, Ramondre, and Burks. Do I accept? I think some people would. Obviously, are very excited about being able to bring in Bijan Robinson. I personally would keep Justin Jefferson. If I'm trading away Jefferson, someone better be overpaying. Sorry, just reading the chat here. Scuba says, Charbonnet could get the same draft capital Pierce has, and Pierce has already shown it in the league. Can't rank him over until we know he's getting capital. I honestly probably agree with you in that. I mean, if I'm going to be looking at my personal rankings, I have Dameon Pierce ranked 68, Zach Charbonnet ranked 69. So we do have them ranked back-to-back, and I have Dameon Pierce with the slight edge there. I actually have, if we're looking at someone that went, in my mind, according to my rankings, way too high in this draft, George Pickens going at the 6'10", and I have George Pickens way down at 76. Michael Mayer, oh my gosh, aggressive with the rookie tight end here. For him to go this close to Dallas Goedert, this close to George Kittle, I'm going to say I hate it. And I know I'm being an ass when I say it, but still, I just want to be honest. Like if I was thinking about, okay, I want to go through the 6th and 7th round. I want to be able to grab a wide receiver and a tight end. In my mind, it would have been so much better to take a tight end in the middle of the 6th. It would have been so much better to grab, say, George Kittle or Dallas Goedert at the 607, either one, whichever one you prefer. Most people probably prefer Kittle. And then taking a wide receiver in the 7th. So then instead of having Jameson Williams and Michael Mayer, you have George Kittle and Terry McLaurin In my mind, that's just such a better combination. I really don't like taking the rookie tight end there. Okay. Benny says, in a startup and we have the 103, what would you want for the pick if trading back? I'm actually just made a video about this where in the past, I thought that it was advantageous to trade back. Literally, it's been my strategy in every single startup I've entered pretty much since 2014. But I would say at this point, if you have the 103, assuming it's a super flex league, you better be holding on to it. I don't want to trade back. Everybody tries to trade back every chance that they get now. I mean, there's just no reason. If you have the 103, you get your choice of Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Take it and roll with the rest of the draft. Look at how good those teams look at the top half of the draft compared to the back half of the draft. In my mind, I can't remember a year that there was this much of a discrepancy between the value that you get from being able to pick at number 1 overall versus being able to pick at like 12 or 8 or 9, whatever it may be. Okay. So Jaden says DK Metcalf and a random 2024 first or Bijan Robinson. I think most people take Robinson. I think it's a fair deal and kind of up to you. Scuba says 103 is worth trading back if you can stay in the top 6. After that, then no. I mean, the thing is as well, if you're trading back from the 103 and say you're moving to the 105, what can we reasonably expect to pick up in additional value? At least in my experience, a trade like that, very rarely are you actually going to be able to get the other owner to pay something significant where it really just doesn't make too much sense. Okay, so Kirk goes 608, Amari 604. Jeremiah says, do you think Jordan Love will start in Green Bay or ask for a trade? I think Jordan Love does not have much leverage in the situation, my friend. I think Jordan Love will start for whoever will start him. I've seen a lot of Jordan Love hype as well lately, and that's just something that I, quite frankly, don't understand too much. Like, it'd be different if Jordan Love had a lot of rushing upside, but Jordan Love really is never ran the ball. Like, even if we're going to go back to his days in college, I don't know why people think that. Maybe it's because he's mobile and he made a couple throws on the run whenever he got to start for whenever he got to fill in for Aaron Rodgers this past season. I believe one of those games was on prime time, so a lot of people actually got to see what he looked like. But in terms of looking at his actual rushing numbers, his best season ever as a rusher, he played 13 games and ran the ball for 175 yards at Utah State. That was in 2019. I'd imagine he's not a better athlete than he was in 2019. Maybe he's a better passer, but I doubt he's going to be running the ball any more than he was. I don't see where the love's coming from. Okay. But let's pull back up our Dynasty rankings. I already know who we're probably going to be going with here if he makes it back to us. Probably going to hit a 1-2 combo. Deontay, I think we're going to go James Cook. I found myself drafting James Cook in a ridiculous amount of underdog drafts as well as Dynasty startups. I don't think he's that good, but if you're looking at the situation in Buffalo, if you're looking at the team investment, I really do like him here. And if I'm going to be looking at A.J. Dillon versus Isaiah Pacheco, I personally actually have Dillon ranked a little bit higher than Pacheco. Maybe most people disagree with me on this one, but you know what? As we think about this, with Aaron Jones restructuring in Green Bay, that's probably the wrong way to go about it. Let's go ahead and let's instead take Isaiah Pacheco at the 901. I mean, if we were to decide to go with the wide receiver here, we probably would end up going with Rashad Bateman. If I was going to be looking at my rankings for Pacheco, I have Pacheco ranked at 93 versus Bateman ranked at 100. So it's interesting. Let me know if you think we made a mistake there. Very easily we could have. Shradrick says, Love's comps were Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, not Michael Vick. Thank you for the input, my friend. I think comparing any quarterback that does not have a large sample to Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers is probably a reckless thing, and we probably should not be doing it. I think maybe it illustrates my point that this Jordan Love hype is going a little too far. And if you were to have Jordan Love, you probably should go ahead and look to sell. I don't know. Now, with some more year 2 running backs coming off the board, we have Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier in the middle of the 9th. I mean, very rarely am I the guy investing into year 2 running backs because historically speaking, someone like an Isaiah Pacheco would have cost significantly more in years past than a 9th round pick. And I'd say the same thing about Dameon Pierce. And historically speaking, those players have been dramatically overvalued and we've ignored them. That's the prototype of the running back that doesn't really have the NFL draft capital, but finds success year 1, doesn't really have long-term job security, but maybe, just maybe, can somehow turn into an Aaron Jones, somehow turn into and Austin Eckler in terms of running backs coming from day 3 that all of a sudden actually have long careers. It's not likely. It's definitely not a guarantee. But at this price point, I'm actually kind of willing to find out. Okay. Ellis says, with 4 backs coming from the 2022 draft class, are you not limiting your upside? It will have to be one of the best classes of all time to play out. I will say that doesn't really correlate whatsoever in terms of saying, okay, there can only be X amount of players from an individual draft class that end up having long and prolific careers. In my mind, if that's something that we are focusing in on, if that was a detail that we were thinking about as we operate through his startup, it's probably going to lead us to making more wrong decisions than right decisions. Yeah, I just don't agree with that kind of thought process whatsoever. And I'll also say in terms of constructing a fantasy football team, and if you look at teams that actually win fantasy football leagues, you don't need every player to hit. What you need, and this is coming from someone whose most drafted player was Josh Jacobs, just won $150,000 in high-stakes tournaments on Underdog this past year. You need 1 to 2 very big hits. You can afford to have a few misses on your team as long as you're the one coming away with 1 to 2 very big hits in your draft. Okay. Mahdi says, advice for a first-time Dynasty startup draft. Would you do a slow timer or how many minutes should I set the timer? I think you should 100% do a slow timer for any Dynasty startup draft. That way you can go through and you can have trades throughout the entire draft. And I would recommend going with an 8-hour timer. Maybe you're going to get annoyed with people that sit on the clock for 5-6 hours. Trust me, I've been the guy in the group chat saying, come on, make your pick already. I'm dying here. I'm dying. Let me make another one. In reality, I feel like I've gotten a little bit older, and in my old age, I am fine with people taking a little bit longer with their picks. I'm fine with the draft lasting a little longer because it's a few more days that we get to have fun with it. So I definitely recommend going the slow draft route. Chris says, Mason, lovely seeing you this night, brother. Lovely seeing you, my friend. Happy to see you out here. Okay. Jamari says, who do you think Seattle will draft at 5? Anthony Richardson? ? I mean, I don't know. Full transparency. I have no freaking idea. I will say, if they could draft Anthony Richardson at 5, that would be a phenomenal landing spot. They draft Anthony Richardson at 5, he is going to be extremely high in my rankings. Jordan Love in the middle of the 10th. I'm actually completely fine with this value of Jordan Love. I would say Jordan Love is a good draft pick here. My issue with Love is I've seen a lot of people saying to go trade wide receivers in the tier of like Jahan Dotson, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin for him. If you're valuing Jordan Love more as that 6th, 7th round started pick, I think that's too aggressive and you're way too optimistic. If you're getting Jordan Love in the 10th, I think it's a pick that has a decent amount of upside for the price associated, and I'd be completely fine with you making that investment. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's play around, figure out what we're going to be going with. David Montgomery just falls more and more every single day. I'm not saying he shouldn't, but he does. Just speaking of what happens. Okay, so let's run through this. I know what I want to do. Devin Achane goes here at the end of the 10th. Okay, I'm going to go 2 quarterbacks. I'm not going to think about this whatsoever. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Geno Smith as well as Mac Jones. I understand that we already have 2 quarterbacks at the very top, but if we're just going to be looking at the opportunity cost to stack up additional starters here, these 2 running backs here going off the board at the end of the 10th, we have no idea if they will ever be anything. No idea. They could end up being day 3 NFL draft picks, a 3rd string running back on some depth chart, and they could end up being Isaiah Spiller. So I would prefer going in this range. I'd prefer grabbing a couple of the QBs. Okay, so John says, I'm scooping Daniel Jones in the 4th all day. Would you take Daniel Jones over Will Levis? Let me pull up where I have my rankings between these 2 quarterbacks. I'm not going to lie. I did not look at my rankings whenever we made that selection. I have Will Levis ranked at 39. Oh, don't tell me I have Daniel Jones higher. I have Daniel Jones at 37. So I actually have Daniel Jones 2 spots ahead of Levis. That's embarrassing, but it is what it is. Maybe we need to swap that ranking. Can y'all please spam the chat? Let me know what you're thinking there. Would you rather have Will Levis or would you rather have Daniel Jones? Please spam the chat. Are you going Will Levis or Daniel Jones? Gabriel says, thoughts on having Garrett Wilson as high as the wide receiver 4 if he gets a good quarterback upgrade this season? I mean, you have to have him behind Jefferson, Chase, Lamb. If you want to have him ahead of Higgins, St. Brown, Waddle, A.J. Brown, I think it's completely up to you. If you look at my Dynasty rankings, they're all in the same tier. I think having Garrett Wilson at 4 is not unreasonable at all. I mean, I personally do not have it ranked that way. I personally have Garrett Wilson ranked directly after Waddle and Brown. I have Wilson ranked, I believe, as the wide receiver 5. And we have him ranked as the 19th player overall. So we get Garrett Wilson at pick 25 here. I have him ranked at 19, so I have him ranked as a mid-second round pick. Okay, Komet here at the end of the 11th. Montgomery as well. Okay, so let's see what people are saying between Will Levis, Daniel Jones. Jones, Levis, Jones, once he gets his contract extension, Jones, Levis. Depends where Levis falls. Levis. Alex has thoughts on the 108. First off, Alex, thank you, my man, for being a long time member of the flock. You know I always appreciate you. But let's go down. Let's check out Alex at the 108. I will say, first off, the best value ever imaginable getting Trevor Lawrence here. I would imagine that you never thought that you were going to be able to get Lawrence to that pick. Waddle in the middle of the 2nd. I think maybe some people would prefer St. Brown. I love Waddle. You know, I love the Waddle pick. ETN, another great value. Tua, phenomenal. My man, you have an unbelievable team. I'm not going to be able to say anything other than that. I love the team. I will say, I think maybe you got a little lucky with some of the incredible values falling to you. Of course, that's a little bit of the magic, but getting Lawrence at 8, getting ETN at the 308, getting Tua at 405, getting Quentin Johnston in the middle of the 6th, getting Kirk in the middle of the 8th to stack with Lawrence and ETN. Phenomenal team, my friend. I definitely do love it. I mean, especially getting Tua to stack with Waddle. Such a good team. Such a good team. Okay. So now we have a couple second-year tight ends going off the board. We are going to have to make our own pick Let's think. Okay, we're not really looking at any of these QBs. If we were to take a quarterback, we're not taking it. Maybe we take one. I'm not going to lie to you. For trade value purposes, we may take a quarterback here and then trade him for a wide receiver halfway through the offseason. Ellis says, why is David Montgomery falling so much? Is he that different from Miles Sanders? I don't think he's that different from Miles Sanders whatsoever, my friend. If you were going to make me pick between David Montgomery, in which round did he go in? At the end of the 11-12 turn, or Miles Sanders in the middle of the 8th, I would prefer David Montgomery at the end of the 8th, at the beginning of the 11th, beginning of the 12th. Okay, I'm not a big fan of him. I think that he is a little overpriced elsewhere, but specifically in this draft, he wasn't. So just for trade bait purposes, we'd probably trade him for a wide receiver in the offseason, but we will go ahead and take him here. We will take Sam Howell. Here's the draft board for anybody wanting to check it out. Thank you, of course, for everybody hanging out in this live stream with us. Thank you for drafting with us. I truly do appreciate you. I really hope you have a great day. Really hope that you started your week off right. And yeah, thank you for everything, as always.